everyone. My name's Casey, and this is Interventions Episodes.
Hi, I'm Liz, here co-hosting with Casey.
Today, our guests are Michael and Nathan from Upstatement, and we're talking with them about their project on COVID-19 and designing for change. Michael, do you want to just tell us a little bit about this project that you've been working on recently? What is it? How did it start? And what did you do with it?
Cool. Hi, everyone. I am Nathan Hass. I'm a designer and creative director at Upstatement. Yeah, I've been there for like 6 years or so, and recently had an opportunity to work on a really cool project with Brigham and Women's for clinical care guidelines for COVID-19 patients in hospitals across the country and across the world.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here. So I've been working on COVID protocols at covidprotocols.org. It's a sort of collection of like clinical guidelines and data around coronavirus put together by some folks at Brigham and Women's Hospital. So it's based on, some of the national and state guidelines, and a lot of like experts' opinions is kind of this one place that you can go to find all the latest information.
So a team at Brigham and Women's had started putting together this mega Google Doc of all of the kind of like latest and best quality information about how to treat patients with who have COVID-19. Unlike many other, unlike kind of like every other illness that we're dealing with, that doctors are usually dealing with, there really wasn't much to go off of. When patients were flooding ICUs, most of the doctors had never seen this before, and there were no established protocols for how to treat them. So this document that they were putting together was super, super helpful and super high quality. And after it got written up in the New York Times, like the day that it was published, or not the New York Times, the New Yorker, after it got written up in the New Yorker, the day it was published, they started getting a ton of traffic and a ton of interest really quickly, which was a really cool thing. And it was instantly like a super helpful tool for all these doctors. But unfortunately, it was just a published Google Doc that looked like garbage and was really hard to use and hard to read, and was actually like blacklisted at a bunch of hospitals. Hospitals tend to have really strict firewalls, so they don't let a lot of Google products through. And this website was like instantly blacklisted. So doctors were looking at this website on their phone, not on Wi-Fi. And so that they could actually see it, but it wasn't even responsive, so that I couldn't really see it. But still, it was super, super helpful. So when we heard about this, we realized that we could lend our expertise and make something that is, a responsive, mobile-friendly website that could be super fast and super useful. And so we dove right in and launched a website within about 2 weeks to kind of like refresh all this content, and have been working with them since. So
for my role, I was the technology director for this project, as well as the sole engineer. So helped make the technical decisions around, hosting any tools or frameworks that we use, really starting with evaluating their needs and where they were coming from, and figuring out, what they were trying to do to figure out the best way to get there.
We all did a bit of everything on this, but I think I was kind of overall responsible for client communication, making sure that like we were meeting our deadlines, that we were kind of staying true to the original project goals, and that we were turning out a product that would be helpful for these doctors. But everyone kind of shared all of those responsibilities too.
So what were the most important goals and considerations in this project for your role?
Within the first hour of interviewing the client team, we realized that there were two main problems. There was a content creation problem and a content consumption problem. At that time, I think a couple dozen doctors in a single Google Doc that were just writing, and they had no real workflow around that beyond people were contributing there, and one key doctor was going through and making all the edits that she could. And that was kind of how it was working. And while Google Docs is not a great CMS, it was a tool that all these doctors already knew how to use. So very early on, we realized that we wanted to keep that kind of collaborative editing experience intact, and then suggest a couple workflow changes for them within Google Docs, but allow them to continue editing in there, as Google Docs is just like a better collaborative editing tool than WordPress or Contentful or any of the other CMSs we typically use. So that was on the content creation side. We had to make sure that we were kind of helping them keep something that they could update. And then on the content consumption side, we wanted to make sure that we were giving something that was as useful to doctors as possible. Now, that meant a couple things. One, it meant that we had to create something that they could easily search and easily browse. We wanted to support kind of whatever browsing paradigms that doctors were coming to this with. So if they had a very specific either ailment or treatment that they were trying to look up, they could search that really quickly. We also want to support chapters so people could dive into or have go a little bit deeper on things like respiratory or cardiac issues, which all have their own chapters.
So one of the biggest things with this one was because we wanted it to be as accessible as possible to people. We really went very simple on the design itself. There's almost no images on there. But the most important goals and considerations for my end with that in mind were, figuring out how we could make it as light as possible, so no kind of heavy framework use.
We tried to keep things as slim as possible. In addition to looking good, we wanted it to be super, super performant. So that was another big thing, prioritizing speed as well as legibility.
So how has your work on this project been different or similar from projects that you've worked on in the past?
I mean, definitely the shorter time frame was a big thing. We put the entire thing together in about 2.5 weeks, which is a lot faster than I've ever kind of put anything together start to finish before.
Conceptualizing, building, and deploying a site within 2 weeks is not the norm. So it was definitely fast, but I think in addition to it being faster, it was also something that we all cared really deeply about. That aggressive timeline didn't feel too bad given that we were hopefully making something that was actually going to help people. Usually we love our clients and we love the work that we're doing, but I think this is the first time I can say that something that I've worked on actually help save people's lives.
How can you collaborate with people outside of your discipline to make impactful products like this one?
It's something that I think takes some getting used to, especially depending on, how different companies and different studios work. With this one in particular, there wasn't a lot of, again, there wasn't a lot of time. So it was pretty much the creative director, Nathan, the designer, Regis, and myself. And, they're both more on the artistic and design side than I am. So all of us had to really, focus where our strengths are, and, kind of rely on each other and work in a way that we were, helping each other out with pointing out things, but also, assuming positive intent, realizing that, everyone's trying to make the best thing they can. And it was really like an exercise in trusting each other to kind of be making the best thing that we could. We've started now making a native app as kind of the next phase of this project, which again has like a 2.5 week life cycle. So we're in the same kind of situation where like now I'm taking, the designs that Nathan and Regis did and kind of trying to port them over to this native app side. And, it's something that I don't have a ton of time to spend on with, the other engineering things. So, I kind of got the basics in and I was like, all right, I trust Nathan to be able to kind of take it from here.
With people outside of kind of the industry, I think the most important thing is just to ask questions and to listen and to accept that like you aren't always the expert, that there are a ton of things that we as designers don't know, and things that we as designers can really bring to the table too. Like we can help make these products. We can help organize the information. We can help empathize with users in a way that others might have trouble with. But then knowing where our expertise ends and theirs begins, it really helps to have that kind of shared understanding and shared ownership of a project too. I think it's really important to feel like you are partners with your clients. So we talk to them every single day. We try to we constantly ask questions. We constantly defer to them on things that we should defer to them to, and they defer to us on things that are more in our wheelhouse. So I think listening and knowing where your like domain knowledge ends, kind of.
How do you think that this global crisis will change the way we think about building equitable products or software? I know that's a big one.
It is a big one. I think that there will be, more demand for those kinds of things. I think that there are a lot of companies and businesses that, maybe haven't realized as much of the need for a digital presence. I think that it will also, once this ends and we're able to leave our houses again, I think that there will still be a lot more companies that kind of stick with the idea of building things remotely. But I think the biggest thing that will actually affect like how we go about building things is I think we'll see a lot more of a rise in like the MVP style, with having kind of quick pivots and moving fast and breaking stuff, because there's been so much during this time that's been like, okay, we need to get the most bare bones thing together that we can and, get it out there and start iterating on top of it, which, is how a lot of software has worked. But I think this proves more and more why that approach works.
Both in this project and I think in the healthcare industry around the world right now, a lot of positive change is coming because people are willing to work together, to collaborate, and to understand what we need right now and to push towards a common good. And so hopefully that is something that will maintain, that people will learn from this, that it's not just about kind of their own interests when creating products and not get too bogged down in the minor things that don't matter, which is so easy to do, but to see the greater good and to move faster towards that.
We wanted to hear what your work from home essentials are. So I know you said you have some experience working from home. I was wondering what does it take for you to work from home successfully?
Working from home for me is mostly a matter of having an area set aside that doesn't feel like I'll be distracted by normal things. So like, when I started working from home, I didn't have a separate desk. I would sit on my couch and it was, then it became really easy to get distracted by, like, oh, I'm just going to turn on the TV for a few minutes. And then you realize you've been watching Law and Order for an hour and not writing any code. So for me, it's just like having this kind of dedicated space, and setting that aside. And that also helps with kind of, setting the boundaries for leaving work as well. which was something that I also learned a lot of in startup life, which is, when you're home with your laptop, it's really easy to get an email at 11 p.m. and be like, oh, I'll just respond to that now because technically I'm still at work because it's my house. But being able to just be like, okay, work is done. It's 5 o'clock. I'm going to leave my laptop over here at my desk and go elsewhere in my home.
What are your top 3 work from home essentials, things you can't live or can't work without?
Okay. So work from home essentials are 1, a space heater. So I don't know when this happened, but I started using a space heater at my desk forever ago, and it's like my comfort object. It is akin to like a baby's blanket. Like I need it to feel comfortable. And so when I found out I was going to be working from home for an extended period of time, I got my monitor and my space heater from the office, and those things have been helpful. Right now, another really important thing is the dog crate that I have next to my desk. So we recently had a litter of puppies at my house, which is insane. So one of those puppies now lives with us, and he is nuts. So I have him sitting in a little crate next to my desk, and he comes out to play pretty often. And then what's the last thing? I mean, like computer's lame. I don't want to say that.
Maybe like a snack or like a go-to routine, something like that.
I mean, the snack of choice right now, I've been making a lot of bread. So always having like a good, not even like bread though, just like something to put cheese on. I feel like we've been eating a lot of either cheese and crackers or grilled cheese sandwiches or things like that.
That's so funny. Cheese and crackers just makes me think of Wallace and Gromit.
But yeah, I think so. Something to put cheese on, space heater, and a place to put a puppy.
Love it. That's so awesome. All right. Well, I think that's basically it. Thank you, Nathan, for coming and hanging out with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great to chat.
Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us today.
Cool. Thanks very much. This was a lot of fun.